Hey guys, welcome to my channel Sewing Stash. My name's Jodie. Today's video is going to be making the Hollyoak dress by Cashmeretta. Now, before we get started, a little disclaimer. I started making this dress back in April and the video was meant to come out in May. However, we're now in July and it didn't happen. A lot of things got in the way, a lot of personal things happened and sewing kind of got put on the back burner for a little bit. But I finally finished it in June and now I'm actually trying to finish this video to get it out to you guys. So the version that we're making is the maxi dress version, which is this version here. If you saw my sewing plans video, you would already know about this pattern. I did it in the bust C, which was 46. This already comes with a fuller bust adjustment, so you don't have to do any. And I made it straight out of the packet without a twirl or a twill, whatever you want to call it, thinking that it would fit me right away because it's automatically already my measurements. And it actually, little spoiler, came out too big. So throughout the video I will talk to you about that and what happened and what I did to correct that and how I wish I made a twirl, toil, mock-up, whatever you want to call it, before I started it, but I didn't. Hey-ho, and I had no intention to anyway. So without further ado, we'll jump straight into the making process and then afterwards we'll do the reveal. For those of you that have seen my summer plans 2021 video, you will know that I said that I'm going to make the Hollyoak dress by Cashmeretta, and I'm going to make it in this gorgeous leopard print fabric here, which is like nice and soft and drapey. I'm also going to be using these buttons, if you can see that hopefully will go quite well. I was planning a statement button but decided against it. I've also got my elastic here that you're going to need, and I've got some lightweight fusible interfacing as well. I'm pretty sure it will need interfacing on some parts. Now, I did say in my sewing plans video that I am not making a twirl of this and that I am going to make it straight out the packet. Now the reason being is because Cashmeretta patterns already come with the bust adjustments here, and straight out the packet I can find my high bust measurement, which is 43, and my apex measurement, which is 46. So I don't seem to need to do anything with this pattern. I haven't made this before, I haven't looked on any reviews on how well it fits. I just thought we would go straight out the packet and see how it goes. Now, I was a very, very good girl and I actually traced all of my patterns. So what we're going to do now is we are going to lay out this material. We're going to lay out the pattern on the material and then we're going to cut it out. Have all of our pattern pieces cut out with the interfacing also. So we have 4 skirt panels here. This is the side bodice. I mean, damn, that is a lot of side boob.
You want some side boob?
Woo. excuse me. This is the bodice pieces as well. We've got some pockets because every dress needs pockets. We've got the front waistband. We have the interfacings, and we have the straps, which are these really weird shaped straps. So that's going to be quite interesting. And I think we've got some more interfacing pieces over here. So the first step, as always, or usually, is to apply the interfacing to the relevant pieces. So I'm going to go do that now, and then it's working on the bodice first. So first off, interfacing. Question for you all. Why does my interfacing never match up to the piece that I'm trying to interface? I use the exact same pattern to cut out the interfacing as I did my pattern piece, and before I even ironed it, so it hasn't shrank or anything like that, when I just placed it down, it's not enough here and there's too much up there, and I'm short here. And it happens to me every time I cut interfacing, even before I've ironed it, I line it up and it just never meets. So if any of you guys know why this is, please let me know. I really want to work out, it's probably something I'm doing wrong if I'm honest. But yeah, I'd be really interested to know. I mean, I've ironed this down, so maybe there is a little bit of shrinkage here and there from the interfacing anyway, but yeah, I'm not quite sure. I mean, initially I thought that I never lined this pattern piece up properly, but this is really flat and this is how it's meant to be. So I don't actually know. So please let me know in the comments below if you've had this problem, if it happens to you all the time, if you know why it happens, all of that good stuff. I'd be very appreciative. It's not going to cause me any issues, so I'm not too worried. But yeah, I was kind of curious as to why this situation happens. Now we have all the interfacing onto the relevant pieces, it's time to start working on the bodice. So I have all my bodice pieces here. One thing about this fabric, it looks white on camera, but it's really a really subtle grey, and it's not white at all. So I'm wondering if I can get away with white thread. I hope I can, because I don't have any grey that is this light, although on camera it's just looking like a subtle off-white. It is quite grey. So I'm gonna go thread the machine and we'll get started. this is the side bodice piece and this is the front bodice piece here. And initially I didn't think it lined up properly. It does take a lot of pins and a lot of finicking about to try and get it to lay properly. It doesn't look like it lays flat, but it will once it's sewn in. So what I would suggest, if you haven't done this before, is to just use loads of pins and to sew really slowly. So now we're going to sew this together. So now we have the side bodice attached to the front bodice. I overlocked the inside and I've pressed it so it sits nice and smooth on the curve. The next step is to stay stitch the neckline and arm circle, which is, this is the arm circle, and then, oh, camera cover, and our neckline's here. So we're going to stay stitch that and move on to the next step. We have the stay stitching around the neckline and armhole. Now we have to get the interfaced waistband number 3, I believe, match up the notches, join it all together, stitch it together on both sides of the bodice. So we're going to do that now. Have the interface part of the waistband attached to the bodice. I then went ahead off camera and attached the uninterfaced part of the waistband, folded down the edge 1/2 inch, cut it to 1/4 of an inch, and then attached it to the right side of the bodice to the wrong side of the waistband. Now it says to stitch this down to 1/2 inch again, and then I believe it's time to work on the skirt. So we're going to stitch this down one more time, this side this time, at 1/2 inch, and then we can start working on the skirt. The bodice is now done and sewn. I am not worried that this does not fit my mannequin around the breast area, because my mannequin is not as well endowed as me, but it's looking really nice. I'm really happy with how it's all turning out so far. The next step is to work on the skirt. I'm going to try and get as much recorded tonight as possible, but I am losing light. So we are going to start working on the skirt. I may have to abandon it and start again tomorrow because of the lighting situation, but we shall see. So I believe now it is the skirt pieces that we need to put together and the pockets. So we'll get on to that now. So I brought my skirt pattern pieces out to my dining room table so that I could start pinning them together and match them out, because I've got the big 6-foot table space. And I'm really confused. So this is my centre front skirt piece. I know that. And this is my centre front side piece. I know that too. However, one side of this skirt has to be attached to this side. And I'm either really tired from filming and sewing and cutting out all day, or I'm having a massive brain fart and I can't quite fathom which side of this needs to be attached to this. Honestly, I mean, this is simple. It's putting two parts of a skirt together, and I don't know why. I literally can't get my brain to function. Usually you have notches that tell you which part corresponds to which part, but on this pattern, the notches are identical. So I don't have a double notch for the back and a single notch for the front, which usually helps you out when you're a bit confused. So yeah, I'm not quite sure what to do, considering both sides of this pattern has the exact same notches on either side, and neither one points towards the back, and this pattern looks predominantly symmetrical, although I think there is a slight curve that side. So maybe that's the back. Maybe. I'm not quite sure. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys have looked at this and gone, which side do I put to what? Because that'd make me feel so much better about this right now. I'm going to hazard a guess and think that this, because it has a slight curve, is the back to make way for the bottom. And this would be the side. The only issue with this is if I continue tonight and mess it up, I've got a lot of unpicking to do. So I'm going to reread the instructions, I'm going to have a think, maybe walk away for 5 minutes and come back, and it will make sense to me.
Brain fart, window, sorry.
It quite clearly shows you that the curve is not to be sewn to the front and that the curve stays outwards. So now I know that this side here is not to be sewn and I need to attach this side to the skirt. Oh, what a difference 5 minutes walking away makes. I feel like such an idiot. So now I have the skirt pieces pinned to what I believe is the correct corresponding side. Fingers crossed. If not, when I come to do the pockets, I will soon realise this. So that'll be interesting. So now it's time to sew these sides up, overlock them as well, because my fabric, as you can tell, does fray. And then I believe it's pockets, and we all love a good pocket. Now have the side seams together, sewn, overlocked and pressed down nice and neatly. So the next step is to attach the pockets. I've gone ahead and stuck this one down, well, not stuck it down, pinned it down obviously, here like so. So I'm going to sew this down, then I'm going to understitch it, and I'm going to do the same for the other side of the skirt, and then I think, I would assume, we move on to the back skirt. So let's do this. The pockets are now attached to the front side of the skirt, and I've understitched them there, if you can see that. Now we need to attach the front skirt to the front bodice. I am losing light, so I think I'm going to leave this here for tonight and then pick this up again tomorrow so you can see what I'm doing, because this lighting situation is getting pretty poor now. And yeah, I have to admit defeat. So we'll pick this up again tomorrow. It is the next day, and the next step is to attach these skirt pieces to the bodice, right sides together, with just at this front waistband here. So I'm going to get all that pinned on and sewn up, and then we can have a look at the next step. Both the front bodices are attached to the front skirt. I've gone ahead and pinned and, well, turned these down and pinned them at 1/4 of an inch, and I'm going to iron this down. This then comes over here and attaches there, and then you slip stitch it all the way across, or you can do a stitch in the ditch. Usually I would do a stitch in the ditch because I avoid hand sewing at all costs, but I am trying to get better at hand sewing, and I do enjoy it. I'm just not very good at it. So I'm going to take my time. I'm going to iron this all nicely, and I'm going to attempt to hand sew. I probably won't record it because I'll be concentrating, but if I can get a tiny bit of footage, then I will. So we're going to do that, and then we'll look at what's next. So the waistband is now all hand stitched down with a slip stitch. Quite enjoyed the process actually, and I found that the more I continued, the neater I got. The waistband is a tad wobbly, but that's okay because you're not going to see it. It's going to be on the inside, but it is nice and secure and it's ironed down. So the next step now is to work on the straps, I believe, and then I wanted to do a fitting before I actually sewed it all up, because straps tend to be too big for me, but it doesn't look like you can. So I'm not sure what to do about that, because it looks like you have to obviously do the straps, you have to do the facing and have all that attached, but then you move on to the back bodice. So it means I don't actually get to do a fitting with it. So I don't know if the straps are going to fit. I don't know if it's going to actually fit me around the bust, which means that if I want to or need to do any adjustments, I basically can't without taking the whole thing apart. So that's a little bit upsetting. But that's why I probably should have done a mock-up. But like I said, I wasn't going to do a mock-up because allegedly this will fit me right out the packet. And I guess I'll know for next time I make this, whatever happens with this one. So we're going to go on to the straps and the facings and get started, really. Thought I would give you a quick sneak peek of what the dress is looking like now. I am so in love with this already. I can't even begin to tell you. I'm really excited to get this finished. So in order to do that, we need to do the straps. So I need to get on with that now. Straps are now done and ironed. This is the front part and this is the back, which is wider. The next step now is to just attach the front part of the straps to the bodice, because we only have a front bodice, and then we need to start working on the interfacing. So I'm going to try and do a guesstimate, but these are actually pretty short straps, so I think they should be okay. I guess we'll see. But yeah, I'm going to go and pin the front onto the bodice and then move on to the interfacing. The facings are now done and top stitched. Now we have to attach these to the bodice, and then I believe we start working on the back bodice, and then it's actually going to start looking like a thing, which I'm really excited about. So I'm going to attach these to the front bodice and then start assembling the back bodice. Oh my god, you guys, this interfacing is driving me insane. So the first one, which sits on the right side of the body, went in perfect, not a problem, all pinned in, lined up completely how it's supposed to, and where it's supposed to. So I was like, excellent, this will be easy. Come to this one, and even though they were cut together, and I've measured them and they are exactly the same, this just does not fit. It's too big. Like, I have the points where it needs to be anchored to, so this is where the strap is. Then you've got the underarm, so that's all fine. But then I've just got all of this, like, that just has nowhere to go. It doesn't matter what I do, I just can't get it to fit in. So I'm really frustrated because I've been working on this for 20 minutes and I could be doing something else right now. So I don't know. I mean, it's sitting at the point it should be sitting, so it's sitting at the second notch. So you've got another notch over here somewhere. There it is. And I just can't work it out. I've gone back and forth, and I don't know what's wrong. So I'm going to have a think. I'm going to probably keep trying to go back and forth. But any of you guys that have made this, let me know if you've come across this, or if you know what I've done wrong. Maybe it's something I've done wrong, not the pattern. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, I'm just very confused right now. All right, I think I'm gonna have a 5-minute break from it and come back and reassess the situation, and maybe I'll be able to figure out what it is that's wrong with it. I must have pinned this and unpinned it about 10 times, and it doesn't matter what I do, it just doesn't sit right. So what I'm going to do is let this bit here overhang further than it should do, and only sew it up to where it should actually stop, which is this notch here, and then hopefully be able to cut it off later. But I'm not going to cut it off just yet, as a just in case, that I figure out what it is I've done, and then I can actually go back and unpick it and do it again, because at this point I really don't know what else to do, and I can't get your guys' advice until this video is up and posted. But it will definitely be a lesson for next time. So I'm just gonna stitch these down, turn it the way it should do. I believe it's then understitching it, I would imagine, to keep it down. And then I believe we're working on the back bodice. I'm just so done with this stage right now. I just want to move on. I want my beautiful dress made. Yeah, so I'm just gonna call it quits. Jodie 0, interfacing 1. The facing is now on, and I've flipped it the right way round. I actually don't think that this is going to cause a problem. Because I've stopped there, it means that I'm able to still fold this over when needs be, and I believe this bit gets folded over that bit anyway. So I will wait until I get to that step and then maybe trim some of this off. But otherwise it's gone smoothly. So for both of these, I'm going to give them a good press and then going to understitch as best I can under there to keep it laying flat. And then I believe we are now going to be working on the back bodice after that. So it's a week later. I was waiting for a nice sunny day to continue recording. However, England has not stopped raining in about a week, so I'm just going to have to make the best with the lighting I have. So apologies for the lighting being all over the shop, but we now have the back bodice attached to the waistband and the skirt, and the side panel is the same as we did the front. I didn't record this because it's pretty much the same process as the front was, minus the straps. So the next step now is to measure out the elastic we need and insert it into the back, and then stitch that down. And then we attach the front of the dress to the back of the dress by the arm straps, and we do the facing. So the first step that I'm going to do is measure out my elastic that I need and insert it into the back of this channel here, and then we can start attaching it, and it's going to start looking like a dress, and I'm getting really excited. So we'll do that. Now the elastic is inserted into the channel, which was an absolute nightmare. For some bizarre reason, I did it with a straight stitch and had to rip it all out and start again. And then as I was sewing, the elastic popped off the top and disappeared into the middle of the casing. So I had to unstitch it all and go back in and find it and pull it out. And yeah, so it was more complicated than it needed to be, but we are here now. The next step is actually to attach the back to the front and then do the facing. And then I think we sew the side seams and it's going to start looking like a thing. So that's really exciting. So I was pinning my side seams together of my dress, getting really excited that, you know, we're not too far away from completion. And as I was matching up my waistband, I came down and I noticed that I have one pocket here, right? Where it's supposed to be. Yep, that's great. And then I was like, well, where's the other pocket? Where's the other pocket? Oh. Somehow, I have managed to put the pocket on way down here. I have absolutely no idea what I was thinking, but I've done it on both sides of the front. So this is the front piece, and I've put the pocket all the way down pretty much to the floor somehow, and I've got the pocket on the back where it's supposed to be. I don't even know how I did that. What I should do is rip these two out and move them up. I've understitched them and everything. I don't know if I can be bothered. I might just get rid of the pockets altogether. I'm not quite sure yet. I'm going to sit here and contemplate it over some lunch and decide whether or not this dress will have pockets anymore, because, yeah, I just don't want to undo it all. I mean, it's not that big a deal, but hey-ho. So I did in fact go back in and fix the pockets. So we do have functioning pockets. It was a lot quicker than I thought it was going to be. I have then sewn up the side seams, and I had my first fitting before I overlocked them and tidied them up. And I was really happy, it fits really well. And then I noticed this. I have caught the strap and got it twisted. Even though I checked like 3 times, I've still managed to get the strap wrong. So I've got to go back in, take this out, reapply it, but that won't take too long. I've also realised that if that will focus, let me move my hand out of the way. I've missed a little bit here, haven't quite caught that. But otherwise, I'm really happy with it, and I'm happy that I took the time to go fix the pockets, and I've done the side seams. Not too chuffed that I've got to go back in and sort out this twisted strap, but I should have triple checked it again, obviously, but never mind, it's an easy fix. So I'm going to go fix that and fix the back portion of the other strap that I just haven't quite caught the seam of, and then it will be sorting out the front placket. I'm going to try and do my best to show you the fit of this so far. So what I've done is I've pinned the placket as to where it should do, and I've pinned it to my body. I might have caught a bit of skin in there, I'm not going to lie. So I think it fits nicely around the waist. I do feel there's a little bit of gapping at the top here, but that might be because of the bra that I've got on. I'm not 100% sure. And potentially the darts here, it's really hard to show you, I'm sorry. Potentially the darts are sitting here, which is pretty much where I want them to sit, but I feel like this could maybe come in a little bit. So I'm not sure whether to bring this in a touch here, which should help with the gaping problem and get those princess seams to line up where they should do. But it goes in nicely at the waist, it's quite comfortable, so I don't want to take in too much, but I'm very aware that when I bend my arms in, I've got a lot of gaping, which obviously if I didn't have a top underneath, you would be able to see a lot of cleavage. So I think what I'm going to have to do is maybe bring it over a tiny bit more than intended, and then try it on again and see if that solves this issue here a little bit. This is meant to be my cup size, but it seems that it's coming up strange because it fits me everywhere else, but a little bit loose at the top. So I'm going to just move this over probably like half a centimetre maybe, and then try it on again. Might just baste it in because I do need to get this on and off, because although it has buttons, they're not real buttons. So we will see. But I'm going to give that a go and we'll see how we get on. So after some fiddling around with different ways of making this fit and not gape, what I have actually decided to do is fold in this placket by 5.5 centimetres rather than 1.5 centimetres, and then this folded edge here is what I'm going to line up to the other placket. I am going to keep this fabric here for now in case I need to unpick it and make it smaller or bigger, so I'm not going to reduce the size of this placket at the moment. I will probably have to, once the placket's sewn in, I'm going to end up with, I think, about this much extra, which I'm either going to have to tack down or cut off and then hem afterwards, which is going to be a bit annoying, but it'll be a lot easier. So this edge is going to meet the right side placket as if you were wearing it, so the actual right side of the placket when you have it on, and then I'm going to just baste it down and see how it fits, make sure that it's got rid of my issues. I also think, even though after I've done this, I am going to have to take in the princess seams just a touch. So my plan is to tack this in place with a basting stitch, put this dress on inside out, and then just take in the princess seams just a touch, just so they can sit where they're meant to sit. And I think that should sort out my fitting issues at the top. Now I've found the point where this fits me nicely across the bust and I've managed to take in all this excess, what I've actually realised, and I didn't think was going to happen, and I'm not sure how I missed it, was I've created a centre line, which is great in the sense that I know now that I've taken out all this excess material, but I can't put a placket there because it would be over the other end. I don't know why I didn't even think of that. But what this does mean is I can mark this part of the placket to this bit, which is where I want it to line up, which means it's going to fit me. And then I can pull out some of the placket that I have pinned underneath here, over here, and then I can have a placket that goes in the centre while still keeping my position of where I've matched it to fit. So I've got to unpin it again, and then I've got to move it across slightly, and then I've got to pin it up again. But we are getting there. This placket is more of a faff than I thought it was going to be. But hey ho, I suppose it's all part of the fitting process, isn't it? So I'm gonna mark the top here so I know where to connect it, and then I'm gonna pull out some of this fabric from behind and move it across so that I actually have something to sew as a placket. Now I have the placket sewn down. I'm not a huge fan of how thin this is, come to think of it. I should have maybe done it wider, but I am really not going to go and unpick it now. I'm not still 100% happy with the fit of this bodice. I think I can probably bring in the princess seams maybe a little bit. So I'm going to try that. The skirt is hugely long, so the gap is all the way down on the floor, if you can see that. So I'm going to actually have to bring that up here, which helps because I've puckered the fabric a little bit there. But other than that, I think it's okay. I just don't like how the bodice fits, so I'm hoping once I bring in the princess seams a little bit, which I'm going to have to be careful about because obviously I've got the interfacing here and the waistband there, and I really don't want to be unpicking all of that. But otherwise it's not too bad. I quite like it. It's quite comfortable. I'm definitely going to have to shorten it by quite a way. It's extremely long, as you can see. And this is meant to be the bit for your leg to kick out at, and mine's basically near my feet. So I'm going to unpick that and start the split from a lot higher up, and trim a lot of that off. But otherwise, we're just got to do the buttons and hem this up, so we'll crack on with that. So the dress is almost done. Now it's time to cut off the excess and hem it up. Now I cannot gauge the length that I need this on my person because every time I bend forward, obviously the hem's going to get larger. So what I've done is I set my mannequin up to the same height as me, and then I'm just going to roughly trim off anything that kind of sits on the floor, and then I'm going to true it up, and then I'm going to hem it, and then we can do the buttons and it's complete. What I did notice was that I've somehow caught a bit of the fabric here, so it's puckered a bit, so I need to go in and sort that out, which might mean undoing all of this top stitching to get it to lie flat again, which is a tad annoying. I'm not quite sure which stitch it is that's affecting it, whether it's the top one, this one, or both. I haven't continued the top stitch down the front here because I just didn't want to, but I might actually unpick this and then go back in and do that again. So my first port of call, I think, is to trim this up, then fix this little bit here, and then we can move on to the buttons. Now I've cut the hem with seam allowance included. The next step is to fold this up by 1 inch, press it, and then fold it up again by I think 1.5 inches, which will take off a good wad of this, meaning it should hang roughly round about there. I did go back and try and fix this, and it's better, but it still managed to pucker, so I ended up doing the double line that I didn't really want, and it was going really smoothly. There was no puckers or anything, and then when I got up to here, it's puckered again. So I need to again go back and unpick that and try that one more time. I think I've got the fabric twisted somehow. This fabric does, although it's lovely and soft, it does shift about when you're trying to sew. So I've got to unpick that again, much to my annoyance. But I think I'm going to give that a break first and do the hem, which may or may not be my undoing, because if this comes down a bit, then I'm going to have to hem up a bit more. But I've had enough of this for the minute. I need to do some hemming for a change. Before I start turning up the hem, I went in and overlocked the edge of my hem, which turns out was a good job I did, because my cutting skills suck. And when I went in through the overlocker, it meant that I was able to actually neaten up the edge a lot easier and trim off all these random bits that I was going along like this, and I just had this random bit of fabric. So I managed to trim all that off, and it's relatively even now, I believe. So I'm going to start hemming this, and then before I stitch it, I'm just going to check that it's level and to the length that I want it, and then we can move on to the buttons. Day, and apologies for the lighting. I've hemmed the dress to where I want it, if you can see, and I think that's going to be the perfect kind of length for me. So what I have decided to do though is I'm going to bring these straps up by about 1 inch, I think, both sides. Obviously, why would you only just do one? But yeah, I'm going to bring this up about 1 inch. I think that will help with the last bit of gaping at the front. And then I can do the buttons and then we're done. Which I'm really happy about, because I'm so over this project now. So I'm going to quickly bring those in, and then we'll do the buttons and then we can do the reveal. So the straps are now made smaller, and it has made a huge difference to the top. I could have probably taken a bit more out from there, but never mind. I do shrink my clothes a lot in the tumble dryer, so I think once this has had a run in the tumble dryer, hopefully it won't be too small. But yeah, usually I use my tumble dryer to shrink things, so I might just give it a wash and put it in the tumble dryer, and hopefully that might help with a little bit of this sagging. It usually does for most of my garments. So I've also corrected the, if you can see here, the bubbling bit that I had. I went back in and did that. Now I know that I've mentioned buttons at least 4 or 5 times in this video, but we are actually now going to move on to the buttons, and then it's done. I'm so happy. So we're gonna get onto that now. So I have 2 button options. My first one is a larger button that's grey and black, which I thought would be a good statement button, but also blend well with the pattern of the fabric. And then I've also got this little mini understated shirt button that will also look quite smart. Now I'm not 100% sure which I want to go for. I initially thought, after seeing these, I was like, no, I don't think that's going to go at all. I don't like it. But then I don't know, I actually quite like it, I think that could look quite nice. But then equally, these little shirt buttons are also like a nice, adds a little added touch, but it's less in your face, I guess. It's more like subtle difference. So I'm not 100% sure of which one to go for. I am favouring this one, but then I do like the simplicity of this one. So I'm going to have a think about it, and then I guess the next video clip you'll see is me putting in buttons, so you'll know which one I chose. I made an executive decision and decided on the statement button. Now, I couldn't be bothered to get the pattern piece out and mark my button placement, so instead I've got my button marking tool here. So I've put the button where I want it at the top, round about there, and then I've put the button where I want it on the waistband, and then I've just stretched out my button gauge accordingly. So now I want these buttons to be evenly spaced. So here it is, guys. This is the finished dress. If you can see that, I am trying to show you the best I can. My tripod can't go further enough away to do like a full body shot, but I am super happy with how this turned out after many adjustments and tweaks that I had to make. I definitely want to make this pattern again, and I'm gonna go down 1 to 2 sizes, I think, and I'm definitely gonna make a mock-up. But I am loving this dress, and I can see me getting so much wear out of it. I highly recommend this pattern, although definitely do a 12 first, because I found that it came up a lot bigger on my bust. Even though I've triple checked my measurements and my bust has not shrank, it did come up too big. So 100% make a twirl. I did also, obviously you saw in the video, I had to shorten the straps, but then I have like a really small torso anyway. But yeah, this is going to get a lot of wear this summer. I am super excited. Want a little bit of sun now. It's we did have a good few days of sun, but because I hadn't finished filming this video, I didn't want to wear it out. I don't know if any of you guys do that, but I was waiting, so I thought, well, I definitely want to wear it this summer, so I better crack on with this video. But I am super happy with it. So thank you guys for watching. I'm sorry it took so long. My next make is going to probably be a little bit off track from my sewing plans. I want to try something a little bit different, inspired by the Great British Sewing Bee and by my partner. So fingers crossed when that fabric arrives, I can get started on that video, and I'll see you next time. Bye.